Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murders of Norma Rodriguez and Joel Perez. Both died on September 26, 2007 at about 4:30 p.m. in the 400 block of West Manchester Boulevard in Inglewood, according to LA County Coroner records. Osman Canales, Julius Laulu, and Juan Maldonado were subsequently arrested and charged with the murders. The following is the evidence at trial. R.D. testified that in September 2007, she was employed by Joel's insurance agency, which was owned by victim Joel Perez and located at 415 Manchester Boulevard in Inglewood. She performed billing, accounting, and customer service duties. The office suite in which the agency was located was on the second floor of the building. Victim Norma Lorena Rodriguez had an office in the same suite as the insurance agency, from which office she operated a real estate business. On September 26, 2007, R.D. arrived at work at around 10 p.m. Rodriguez and Perez were already at the office suite when she arrived. A short time later, Perez left to meet a client. 3 or 4 hours later, defendants Julius Laulu, Osman Canales, and Juan Maldonado entered the office suite, and Canales asked for Rodriguez. When Rodriguez came out of her office, she greeted Canales with a hug and a kiss. Canales and Rodriguez went into Rodriguez's office, while Laulu and Maldonado waited in the lobby area with R.D. About 5 minutes later, Canales and Rodriguez came out of her office, at which point Laulu rushed toward R.D., put a gun to her head, and said, "This is a robbery. This is not a joke." Neither Canales nor Maldonado had a gun. Canales tied R.D.'s hands in front of her with a white trash bag. He also tied Rodriguez's hands, and then he and Laulu took her into her office. Defendant Julius Laulu took R.D.'s purse and removed her money, a copy of her check, and her checkbook, which had her name and address in it. Canales and Laulu told R.D. that if she reported anything, they would kill her. R.D. grabbed her purse while Canales and defendant continued to threaten her, stating, "We're letting you go, but if you report this to anybody, then you're gonna be killed. You and your family are gonna be killed. We have your information, we know where you live, and you're gonna be killed." Defendant also told R.D. that if police found out what happened at the office and contacted R.D., she should tell the police that the men who committed the crimes were African Americans. In the days following the incident, R.D. moved about several times because of the threats to her life and her children's lives. R.D. initially told her boyfriend and then again told the police during the subsequent interview that the men who committed the crimes were African American. Ultimately, however, R.D. told the police the truth about the incident. Defendant Juan Maldonado testified that in September 2007, he, then 16 years old, and the stepson of Osman Canales had a conversation with Laulu and Canales at Maldonado's home. Canales told him of a plan to rob Rodriguez and Perez, who owed Canales money. He explained that the three of them would walk from Maldonado's house to Rodriguez's office, which was a couple of blocks away. Maldonado initially told Canales, "I'm not gonna do it." In response, Osman Canales became angry and threatened to rape and kill Maldonado's mother and sister if Maldonado did not participate in the robbery. Based on that threat, Maldonado agreed to participate in the robbery. The three men walked to Rodriguez's office, with Laulu and Maldonado walking on one side of the street and Canales on the other side. When they reached the parking lot of the office, Canales noticed that Perez's car was not there, but Rodriguez's car was there. Canales decided to rob Rodriguez instead of Perez. He instructed Maldonado to act as a lookout on Manchester, and he and Laulu went on to the second floor office suite, which had a lobby area, 2 small offices, and a bathroom. Canales later came down to Manchester and told Maldonado to join him in the office suite. As Maldonado entered the lobby area of the suite, he saw R.D. sitting at her desk and Laulu standing next to her. Rodriguez came out of her office, and Laulu pulled out a gun and told R.D. that this was a robbery. R.D. responded by saying, "Don't play." Defendant replied, "It's not a joke." Canales instructed Maldonado to tie up the 2 women with trash bags. Canales searched Rodriguez's office and her purse, and then asked her if she had any money in the bank. When Rodriguez replied that she had money in the bank, Canales told Maldonado to take her to the bank and ensure that she withdrew the money. Maldonado told Canales that he didn't want to go to the bank because it had security cameras. Canales reminded Maldonado what would happen to his mother and sister if he refused to comply with Canales' directions. Maldonado drove Rodriguez to her bank in her car. They parked in the bank's parking lot and went inside. While they were waiting in line, Canales called Maldonado on Rodriguez's phone to ask if everything was all right. Rodriguez withdrew all the money in her account except for $500 that Maldonado allowed her to retain. Rodriguez gave Maldonado all the money she withdrew, and the two drove back to her office. Canales then took Rodriguez into her office and closed the door while Laulu and Maldonado remained in the lobby area with RD. Maldonado heard a scream, went into Rodriguez's office, and saw her on her stomach with her arms at her sides and her head up. Canales was next to her, cutting her throat in a sawing motion. Maldonado asked Canales what he was doing because he couldn't believe what was going on. Maldonado walked out of Rodriguez's office and started walking toward the door to leave. At that point, he heard someone trying to open the door from the outside. Maldonado looked through the peephole in the door and told Canales, "There's a guy right there." Canales responded, "Bring him in. That's who we're supposed to be here for. That's the main dude." Perez opened the door from the outside with his keys, entered, saw RD, and said something to her in Spanish that Maldonado didn't understand. Maldonado jumped from behind the door and grabbed Perez. When Perez tried to push him, Maldonado pulled him into the lobby area and began fighting with him. Laulu then jumped in and they started jumping Perez. They were both socking Perez, causing him to fall to the floor where they began kicking him. When Perez stopped fighting back, Canales pulled him into Perez's office. Canales started cutting Perez's throat right away. He was just going up and down like a sawing motion. Canales used a big long kitchen knife. Canales stated that they owed him money. That's why he was doing what he did, because they had to pay for what they did. After he cut Perez's throat, Canales pulled RD into Perez's office and threw her to the floor next to Perez's body. RD was crying and asking him not to kill her because she had children. Canales wanted to kill RD, but Maldonado grabbed her, put her behind him, and told Canales they were not going to kill her. Canales disagreed, stating no. She's seen the faces, she's seen everything, she's gonna snitch. Maldonado assured Canales that RD was not gonna snitch and implored him to just leave her alone. RD was crying and telling them that she had children, asking them not to kill her, and confirming that she was not gonna say anything. When Canales finally agreed to not kill RD, the three men told her a story to tell the police that African Americans committed the crimes. After someone untied RD, she walked downstairs with Canales and helped him start Perez's BMW, which Canales used to drive away from the scene. Laulu and Maldonado drove Rodriguez's car to a park where Canales had told them to take it. Laulu and Maldonado left Rodriguez's car at the park and walked to Maldonado's house where Canales was waiting for them. Canales and Maldonado took off their clothes, put them into the trash, and changed into other clothes. In October 2007, Juan Maldonado was charged with several offenses, including 2 counts of murder. Pursuant to a plea agreement, the murder charges were dismissed and defendant pleaded guilty to, among other charges, 2 counts of voluntary manslaughter. In June 2014, the trial court sentenced Maldonado to 25 years and 8 months in state prison. Following his trial, the jury found defendant Julius Laulu guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. The court sentenced him to 2 consecutive terms of life without the possibility of parole. Following his trial, Osman Canales was found guilty. On January 4, 2013, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. Joel Perez was 51 years old at the time of death. Norma Rodriguez was 48 years old at the time of death.